Welcome to the Design Dash podcast, your guide to designing a life you love. Join us as we explore the keys to living the life you want without compromise.
Hey there, welcome to the Design Dash podcast. I'm Laura Umansky, your co-host, here with Melissa Grove, also Design Dash co-host. And our guest today very likely needs no introduction at all. We're going to be talking to LuAnn Nigara. She is a powerhouse in the interior design industry. She's a host of top-rated podcast, A Well-Designed Business, which I have been lucky to be a guest on a couple of times. We'll have to go back and see which episodes. I don't know. But LuAnn is also a keynote speaker. You may have seen her around market, like various markets, if I had to guess. She's also the author of multiple books that help designers build profitable, purpose-driven businesses. And her mission is to help creative entrepreneurs thrive, not just creatively, but financially and operationally. So welcome, LuAnn. We're excited to have you here.
This is so fun. I mean, who would have known that all those years ago when I met you, Laura, that I would be on the other side of the mic with you. And Melissa, it's so fun to get to know you as well. I've been listening to your guys' podcast and it's, killing it. So I'm excited and delighted to be here. Thank you for asking me.
We're glad to hear that.
And you were early to the podcast game. So when I was a guest first time, I was probably like, what is a podcast?
Yeah.
But LuAnn's a badass, so I'm going to join whatever this is. So I never, when I was a guest on your podcast, I never would have guessed that we would have been like, what's a good idea? Let's start our own podcast.
It's a crazy idea.
And yet, here we are. So thanks for joining us. And I kind of warned you that we were going to start with the origin story. And you said, oh my God, really? 40 years of origin story. So I guess let's start with, what was your own moment of awakening when you realized running a business, because you had your own business. So when you realized running your own business needed more than talent, was there an awakening through your origin story that you're like, I need more than talent to do this. This is hard.
Yeah. So the thing is, my experience is different because our original business, Window Works, we started in 82. It was my husband and myself. And my husband is extremely process driven and extremely financially savvy. And so
you're saying that like you're not.
Well, but see, and this is that origin story, right? So the thing about it is that my awakening probably cognitively happened 5 to 6 years in, because our roles were very clear. I'm sales. I'm the shark in the water. He's also talented at sales, don't get me wrong. But when we started our company, he was not in the sales role. He was managerial and finance. He was operation and finance, and I was sales. And so
you were the talent.
Right. And that's why I think that I identify and have so much empathy and compassion for interior design and designers and business creatives, because there is this thing, you have this thing that you're really good at, whether it's interior design or it's window treatments. In my case, it was just sales. I can't even say I was good at window treatments. I don't even know what a window treatment was, right? But then all of a sudden, you're just like, oh, that's not really the whole picture. And so for me, I had the safety net that I had this operations guy next to me, constantly button it down and constantly challenging me. Okay, Lou, that's great, but the profit margin needs to be this. And I'd be like, okay, the profit margin needs to be that. And I just did what he told me to do, and we were successful. And
you didn't have to come to that realization of that profit margin on your own. You had someone there saying saying, hey, we're shooting for this. And you're like, cool, sounds great.
Exactly. Yep. And then what happened is, once you're building the business and you're like, we need more sales. And I had tremendous pressure on me to drive sales. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like, hey, I wasn't doing operation and finance, so I had a cakewalk. It was like, what have you done for me lately, Lou? Yeah. You're like, we're at 25,000.
What's the pipeline look like? Where's the next sale?
What's going on? Right. And so
a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And so, but what happened was there got to be a point around the 5. I don't really cognitively know, but I would say it was probably about 5 years in that I felt like I had a really good rhythm and personal process for driving sales that I started to look around and go, what else do we do around here? Oh, okay. That's how we figure out our marketing budget. Oh, that's how we determine what we pay people. Oh, that's how we do this. Right. And so then it became that, like, basically at his side, learning all of that other stuff. And you're right, Laura, at this point, I can help you. I can educate you. I'm my chairman of the board coaching programs. I do all those things, but it's from 1982 to 2025. You know what I'm saying? It's like I've been around the bush a couple of times, right? But that's why I really do, when someone says to me, I don't know, I don't know how to do it. Seems hard. I'm like, girl, I know it's hard. It is hard.
I feel like that 5-year point actually sounds about right.
Exactly.
From a business owner's perspective, like my perspective, starting out when you're just like, you're going.
That's right.
You're doing whatever you got to do.
You're just making it happen.
Bring in sales, bring in new clients, run the business, execute on your projects, install them, like make sure you're marketing after the fact, all of those things.
Yep.
Probably about 5 years is when I was just like, oh,
there's
okay.
Got to be another way. There's got to be a way that I can project this.
Right? Yeah, after 5 years, that honeymoon period is gone. Like that excitement and that hunger gets replaced, I think, with pain points and challenges. And now you know enough to want to improve it.
Yep. It's exactly
and you
right.
got to get your systems in place at that point. I feel like 5 years is about right.
Yeah. What I find is, I just, not to cut you off, but what I find is that when I meet designers that address it from the beginning because they've listened to my podcast or they've listened to yours, and they say, why do I have to do all the pain of the 5 years? Why do I have to ignore this for the first 5 years?
You don't.
Because you can. Sarah Brennan is somebody that started listening to my podcast the second she opened her business. And I'm going to tell you what, by 2 years in, that kid was hitting 6 figures and paying herself 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? So she was reaching multiple high 6 figures and paying herself 6 figures because she was like, the people ahead of me say to do this, and this is how they say to do it. So I'm not going to wait till I have that awakening moment of, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you can do it sooner.
Yeah, totally. I remember when I first started, I was probably 2 years in, and I was just like in it. And I sat down with a friend of mine that was running a creative agency. They were a marketing agency. And they had been, it was 2 women, they were partners. And I looked at them over dinner. I'm like, God, you guys are 5 years in. They were just 5 years in, which to me was like forever. I'd only been doing it 2 years. I'm like, God, tell me at 5 years that this all just falls into place and gets easier. And they looked at me, they're like I was out of my mind. They were like, no, it doesn't get easier. Like you may have some systems in place. And in that regard, it does, but no, it never gets.
It's just different problems, right?
It's like different.
It's like the mother of a 5-year-old with a newborn mother, and the newborn's like, at 5, it's easy, right? And you're like, no, because now they're a person and they don't want to go to bed and they don't want to eat their peanut butter. They love peanut butter today, they hate it tomorrow, right? It's the same with a business. There's always new challenges. It's just, are you paying attention and are you doing the work to mitigate those challenges, to increase your knowledge and your acumen as the CEO in order to master what you need to master at each stage of the business.
Yeah. So let's say you don't wait 5 years. Let's say you're just starting and you're listening to LuAnn's podcast nonstop. You're religious about it and you're like learning. What are the top 2? So you're systems queen. What are the top 2 or 3 systems that you believe every firm has to have in place?
You need a financial system. You need a financial system. And that's the one that I would tell you 90% of designers leave for the last system that they tackle. Listen, if you don't decide on January 1st what your revenue projected goal is for December 31st, I don't know. What are we doing here? Why? What are we doing? Why bother? If you're just whatever I get to. And so a financial system is the number one system. And the financial system is everything from, I know how to do my QuickBooks and I know what my profit margins are. And I know how that I, manage my bank accounts. I have a bank account for operating expenses. I have a bank account for client purchases. I have a bank account for client escrow, whatever it is, right? From that all the way to, what do I intend to earn this year? I don't care if in your first year in business, your goal is to pay yourself $20,000. If in January you don't have a plan to get there, that's your first job. Because until you do that, you are going to you get up in the morning and you're running in a circle. And that is the one thing that Vinny provided for me. In other words, I didn't necessarily set the financial projections for the company, but he sat with me and said, these together, we're going to talk about this. We're going to set the financial projections. And guess what, sweetie? We get there one way, by you selling this stuff. Like, that's it.
Again, no pressure. It's all on you, but here's our projection for December 31st.
Right. And the thing is, we broke it down by quarter and by month and by week and by day.
Yeah.
So if I had to sell $100,000 that month, if there were 20 selling days in that month, we divided that by 20. And that meant I got up in the morning and I'm like, I got to find, I don't know if that's $2,000. I can never do things with the easy numbers. I can never do. Like the two, MD's always say to me, just count the zeros. I'm like, yeah, I can't do it. So, but the point is, it was,
I can tell that day what you needed to sell.
Absolutely. There was never a day that he didn't look at me and go, what's your number for today? And I'm like, it's 2,300 or it's 4,800 or it's 6,500, as the years went by.
Day to day, I don't even know. My brain would explode. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. But you know what? What it is, Laura, though, is for a very right brain creative person, it keeps you on task.
We definitely do it just like you're talking. Just like you're talking about, but we do it month to month and then quarter to quarter.
Yeah, but don't forget, the window treatment sale is completely different. I could see 3 people in a day and have 100 sales in a month. That's very different than I'm going to close 5 major projects a year.
Right, exactly. And so
and it might take 2 years to do so.
Yeah, we're churning it. We're like, sweetie, you just had 3 appointments and no closes. What's happening, babe? What's happening?
And we do it just like that. We look at our annual and we say, okay, this year we want to have whatever it is. We know we want X amount of revenue. We need 14 of our standard type of projects to accomplish that. So by quarter, we need to be closing this many clients.
Thank you. This is exactly what I'm saying. This is having a system for your finances. It's not just how do I put money in the bank and how do I make sure it's the right money, but the finance system is also that actual in-depth projection of the revenue by types of projects that you do. If you do full service, you do designer for a day, you do consults, whatever your mix is, you got to know your profit margins that you're targeting for each type of project. And like you just said, we want to do 14. So that means we have to do 3.2 a quarter. You know what I'm saying? And if we're at the end of the second quarter and we've only got 3, well, sweetie, we got a problem. Who's going to go out and make some rain? Right?
Yeah. And then you can tackle marketing and business development or whatever else supports bringing those projects in.
Yeah.
Melissa, do you have something burning?
I mean, I'm the numbers person in the company. So I totally love that. I mean, I'm looking at those numbers every single day, but I know that some of the designers, they don't like to hear that. They really don't. Like when I'm talking about cash flow, I mean, and I've gotten some pushback too. Like, I don't want to hear it anymore.
Oh, that's precious. That's precious. I don't want to see you on payday then either. I mean, seriously, nobody gets to say that. I'm sorry. That would actually make my head blow off the top of it. If I had an employee that said to me, don't talk to me about sales projections. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think that I was maybe putting a little bit too much 2 on the 10. I think that the daily, like that daily that you're getting, I would love to do that. I need to wake up in the morning, know exactly like, what is my goal? What are we working towards? Some of the creatives that I work with are just like, just tell me when it's either really, really good or it's a really big problem and we can work in between. So I think that for me, it was just trying to struggle to try and figure out, okay, I know what motivates me. Now, how do I motivate my team? Because we have such a big team.
Yeah. And I would say to that, Melissa, like, what motivates you? How do you motivate the team? Right? Like, yeah, maybe they're not motivated by just counting the dollar bills and the projects, but are they motivated by getting a paycheck? Are they motivated by getting the next job in the pipeline? Are they motivated by having the luxury of coming to work and putting all of their creativity out into a project and not having to rainmake and not having to bookkeep and all that? Like, it's a team. That it is a team because it is a team. Here's your part in the team. Here's my part in the team. But honest to God, if we don't all do our part, nobody gets to do any part. So nobody can abdicate themselves from the team goals, period.
I think that's a really good point. And I feel like what Melissa's talking about, we have experienced in the past, and every so often we still experience it when the team is overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But I think we have come to a good spot because of Melissa's effort to show the entire team in different departments how each one impacts the firm.
Yes.
And we have our flywheel that's like marketing drives good projects, and really good client delivery drives happy clients, which drives words of mouth, which, the flywheel situation. So I think that like approaching it that way, if you're having trouble with a creative team, not understanding why they have to push cash flow.
Yeah.
That's a good way to
And
do
the
it.
thing about it is, listen to me. I talk an inside voice when I come amongst friends here. Okay. And I get a little crazy pants, right? I'm not suggesting that we ever talk to our teams as a autocrat. I'm never suggesting that we're disrespectful or demanding of our teams.
Yeah.
I'm truly not. Like, my inside voice is very like, I'm sorry, stop. But the outside voice is, hey, this is and the analogy for us would be our installers, right? Like when I ran Window Works with my husband. Installers are craftsmen, like interior designers are. They're the technician, you know, the ebook myth book, right? You've got the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. And so most designers are the technician. Most of our window treatment installers are the technician. And, you know, our partner in Window Works all those years was our lead installer, Billy. And so Billy would often be like, yeah, snooze when you're talking about sales projections, snooze when you're talking about this. But we would constantly, and even to this day, my son-in-law run and my daughter run the company. Even to this day, there is always explaining to what you said, how everybody impacts. It's like, guys, as installers, you're the last person in the home, right? Like for a window treatment model, you know, you can get a Google review, you can get a referral, you can ask if they want to do another room. And if you don't do that and you don't contribute to the greater good of the team and sales go flat, guess what we need less of? It's installers, because we're not going to let salespeople go first. We're going to let installers go. Right. So, and again, I would never say it that way to an actual installer, because they would crumble and, you know, on the floor and be like, oh, you're going to fire me. But it's just, you said it. You gotta get everybody to see their part in it, but nobody, in my opinion, like we have a thing at Window Works. An employee, probably about maybe 18 years ago at this point, you know, I was going back and forth. They had let me down on a job on an install in New York City with a designer, high profile designer. And before cell phones, I think maybe it was 25 years ago. And he comes back into the office, and it wasn't Billy. And I said, you know, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, oh, blah, blah, whatever nonsense he was telling me. And finally, I just looked at him. I said, I'm really having a hard time understanding how this ball was dropped. This is a high profile designer. You know, our reputation matters. And he just finally looked at me and he went, you know, it's not my job. I'm telling you, 20 years later, you walk into that office and you say to somebody, hey, should we tell LuAnn it's not my job? The older employees will go to the floor. They will be like, good luck with that. Because I'm like, nope.
Everybody's accountable.
Right.
No. Yeah, that's company culture also.
That's right.
And
That's
we're very much like that where we are too. Like, yes, you can try not to pay so much attention to the numbers, but at the end of the day, it does affect you. And
you can't abdicate. That's all.
Someone came in and said, it's not my job, and my head would blow off.
Oh my God. I literally looked at him and I was like, I'm going to not speak right now, because the next words out of my mouth are not going to be professional. So you need to walk away from me. Then just get out of my office and we'll talk in a few minutes. And then I walked out and I said, you know what? It's not your job. You're right. You're no longer required here. Here's your last week's paycheck. See you. Don't let the door hit you in the butt.
Yeah. So zero tolerance for that. All right. Well, everyone now knows where LuAnn draws a line.
But maybe we should switch gears and talk about the great parts of a team. You know, we're talking a lot about teamwork and building teams, and a lot of people in our Design Dash community, they're emerging designers. Like it's just them and maybe one other person, or you know it's just them and they want to get to 3 people by the end of the year. So I would just love your thoughts on building a team.
So one of the things that I find that is an easy rookie mistake to make, and I've seen designer after designer do it, I think it's happening less now because I personally have been talking about it publicly forever, and I think others are now as well. But, years ago, it was very common, and it still happens, is that let's call the first hire your bookkeeper. That's what I think should happen. Your first hire should be your bookkeeper, whether it's a subcontractor or in-house, whatever you want to do, right? But that next hire, a rookie mistake is hiring a design assistant.
I'm interested in this. Totally interested in this.
Here's the thing. My experience with this in hundreds and hundreds of conversations is that you want somebody to help you do all the things, but you don't really want somebody to pick the sofa for you. If you're still the solo and this is your first employee, you don't really want somebody to have that meeting with the client for you. You want somebody to call the window treatment person and make sure there's a measure scheduled. You want somebody to place the order on the Kravitz, website. You want somebody to go to the tile shop and get the samples. You want somebody to read your emails and answer the emails. I'm sorry, that's an office assistant. Okay. And so what happens is we put out the job description for the design assistant, and then that designer fresh out of college comes along and they just can't wait to design something. And now they're running down to the tile shop and they're answering emails and they're, scheduling appointments, and they're getting more and more frustrated. And the more bold ones will say, when do I get to design something? And then here's what happens. The principal gets all pissy. You don't get to design anything. I didn't get to design anything for 100 years. You still have to show yourself. You know what I mean? And really, if you found somebody that's an appreciator of the home decor industry and an enthusiast for it, but is an integrator, office administrator, get it done personality as your first hire, now you're taking those $10 an hour jobs off your plate and reserving your time for those $250 hour billable hours that only you should be doing.
Interesting.
Right? You get to your second, third, fourth employee, different story. You start to put designers under your team. I know you have designers under your team, right? But that first hire that works next to you, are they going to design? Are you really going to ask them what they think? I don't think
maybe
so.
It's just semantics, because what you're saying is, I would think that's a design assistant, but it may boil down to setting expectations.
That's my point. It is a semantics
thing.
Their
role versus your role. Yeah, it does boil down to setting expectations. This is a design, it's an office assistant role. It's a design assistant role. I may need them to go choose paint colors or grout or something like that, not necessarily meet with a client.
But see, my thing is that what's actually going to move the needle in your business? Somebody picking a paint color or somebody getting all the other stuff done?
Well, definitely someone placing all the orders. Okay, here's my next question. Well, and this is going to open a can of worms, but am I able to bill for that person's time if they're an office assistant, labeled an office assistant? Because I could bill for a design assistant.
Well, I mean, who sets the rules in your company? Do I as a consumer know that you can bill me for a quote unquote office assistant or design assistant? I mean, that's patently crazy, Laura. I don't know the difference. If you tell me that these are billable hours, do I care the title of the employee that does it?
I mean, it depends on how you show that information to the client.
Okay. And here's what I always say is, if I on Monday, and I know there's many people in the industry that have differing opinions on this, so I'm not saying I'm the end all be all. And if what's working for you isn't broken, then don't break it. Okay. But my logic, I come at the logic like a consumer. My logic is, if on Monday I hired Laura to do my interior design, and on Tuesday she would have done this combination of 10 activities and all of them were billable, but on Wednesday she now has a new employee, and that employee, regardless of their title, does any one of those activities, it's still billable. You set what's billable. whether you do it or design assistant does it or junior designer does it or office administrator does it. Like, you ethically have decided as the principal what's billable. Who cares what the title is? I'm just talking about, to your point, the semantics of the unmet expectations of the person coming in.
Yeah,
and
they want to design. When do I get to design? Yeah, no, I get that, because we've run into that in the past too. Even when we've hired for a non-design position, someone that's a design enthusiast may come in, take that position with the idea that they're someday going to get to design. Is that right, Melissa? We've run into that?
Yeah. So, and I think sometimes though, it's because people think that that's what you want to hear. I've interviewed some marketing people before, just handling social media, and they always tell me that, interior design is my passion. I'm like, actually, I really want marketing to be your passion. Like, you can know interior design or not, I really don't mind. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I've worked in many different regions, and I'm not always in the design industry, but I feel like, especially in Texas, titles are so important. Whereas like working in Chicago, no one cared. Like, just pay me and it's great. So I don't know.
And for your particular company or your particular area, maybe there's a third title that makes more sense. All I'm saying is that I have watched.
It's a studio assistant.
Yes.
Whatever.
But the thing is, the skill set required to manage your schedule and to manage the trades and to place orders, I promise you, is left brain. That's not a right brain creative.
I'm going to say I agree. I'm on, like, if we were doing the hold up a green or a red sign, I'm green sign. I'm with you. I'm team LuAnn on this one. I agree. I think bookkeeper, and that's actually the trajectory that I went. I hired my bookkeeper, but it was bookkeeper combination office manager. So I feel like I had that covered. And my second hire was like shop assistant, design assistant. So that's why I'm like, I needed a design assistant. But I really didn't. She really did a lot of those
admin work.
Admin. It was a lot of admin.
Because you know what it is? As the CEO, you have to constantly be looking about, I did not make this concept up. There's $10 an hour jobs, $100 an hour jobs, $1,000, $10,000 an hour jobs. You got to look at when you go to the
concept of buy back your time. I don't know if you've read that.
You got to look at all the things you're doing. And I guarantee you, if you make a list when you go to do that quote unquote first hire in your business after your bookkeeper, if you make a list of all the things you're actually like, this is what I need help with, I guarantee you there's 2 design things on there, possibly. And the 8 other things are, it's a left brain activity. And my executive assistant, my God, she is beyond comprehension. But like, I don't say to her, Mariali, what do you think of this graphic that we're going to put out on social media? I go to Diana for that, because that's not her superpower. She's a lovely, amazing person, but she's got a lane and nobody can, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great point, because we've been talking a lot to our community about those first hires. And of course, like, you're in that pain point where it's just like, okay, I need somebody to do all of these things. I'm going to hire one person and they're going to take care of all these things. But then you realize, okay, well, this person really likes office management work, or this person really likes marketing. They don't want to do both. Right. So you've got to be.
They can't. And that's a big expectation, to think someone's going to do bookkeeping and social media management, or two
different skill sets.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about this, because I'm really curious to get your take on it. Time billing. How designers bill for our time. Is there an answer? Is there a one-size-fits-all way to bill for your services?
So. I don't think so. Yeah, I've had lots of experience, either through the chairman of the board or panel discussions or interviews on the podcast, where, smart. Laura, you always stood out to me from the first day I met you. There's been a dozen of you that I'm just like, whoa, that's a smart lady right there. Right.
Oh,
and 100%. I mean, legit 100%. And so the thing is, if you're sitting there and you're saying, this is the way we bill, it is straight hourly, blah, blah, blah. And I know you well enough to know that you're profitable and you're not running by the seat of your pants. But then you sit next to like Kate O'Hara or Sandra Funk, and they're like, well, maybe Kate does a combination and Sandra does complete flat fee. I'm not looking at any of the 3 of you and go, one of you is wrong. My thing is what's wrong about billing is not having it clear for yourself how you do it and not being able to explain it with clarity to your consumer, because a confused mind can't buy. So if you can, if I listen to me, I literally will say to a designer, so share your presentation with me. How are you going to explain to me your fees? And I'm just like, at the fifth sentence, I'm like, girl, you've lost me. Like way.
It's too
No,
complicated, or she
it's
doesn't
too,
even know it well enough.
no, right.
Yeah.
And so the two problems are, to me, you want to do flat fee, you want to do hourly, you want to do a combo. I don't care, as long as you're hitting your profit margins, you're paying yourself at least what you would get on the open market in your position. And I think it should be at least 25% over that, because you're the owner of the
And
business.
it's a lot. You're taking
Serious.
on a lot of risk just to make the same salary you would working for someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, if all of that is nailed down, then the second problem that I find around billing isn't how you do it and which one you pick, is that you actually don't bill for all of your time, whether it's flat fee or it's hourly or it's combo. I swear to goodness, like, honestly, I don't think I could have 1,000 designers in a room and I could throw a dart and any one of them could say, without exception, this entire year, I have billed every hour I've worked.
No way.
Every single one is like, well, it was 20 hours, but I think they would only rather pay 15. So I spent 15.
We have this conversation so much, and it's true, and there are a lot of excuses and reasons why we cut time, and we cut tons of time. But we have a threshold for it, for ourselves, that we have set, that Melissa enforces.
I would believe, as well run as I know you to be, and now I'm as I've been listening to your podcast the last couple of months and understanding that, like when you're saying Melissa's the money one, I had picked that up, the operations money one. I would say you were very operationally and finance driven to begin with, Laura, by the time I met you. Right? Yep. You're just like me. Didn't pop out that way, but became that way.
It was after 5 years. Yes.
Exactly. Right. But then when you bring somebody smart like Melissa in, if you tell me that you are also still not billing at all, if I were in a deep conversation with you and we had another hour, I would say, Melissa, tell me why and how. What are the parameters?
She would bill every second.
I'd bill every penny.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, I'm with you.
It's pushback from the design team.
I thought you were saying that Melissa okays, but she okays the minimum that she'll let you slide off the rails.
No, she has given us a threshold. We can't just cut.
Gotcha.
So she's like, look, you can cut. I don't want you to. And I'm going to try to add back as much time as I can. But our threshold is X percentage of each project is feasible.
Thank you.
Beyond that, no.
And you see, I have to play devil's advocate. I would challenge you, Laura, and I would say, just the way she is allowing a percentage of feasibility for deducting hours, what if you just said, no? Matter of fact, I'm going to estimate that same feasibility estimate above hours. And when the project's done, if I cut a check back to them because I didn't use it, I'm not suggesting you take anybody's money. But like I say to designers all the time, if you think it's going to be 10 hours, please, I'm begging you, tell the client 15. Because you know what? It's going to be 15.
It is.
And if in that rare case, it turns out to be 12, you want to write them a check for the 3-hour refund, go ahead. Have at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. There's always some circumstance. Like, hey,
you make this stuff up in your head. I'm looking at your face.
We have a new designer. Example. We have a new designer on the team. She's got to get up to speed.
Yeah.
And we have to train her in our processes. So she's simultaneously learning projects, billing time, and learning our processes as a firm. Mm-hmm. I don't feel comfortable billing every one of her hours because there's a big learning curve there. And that client just happened to get that designer on their project instead of someone that's been with us for 5 years, for example. And so then we will give consideration for complimentary time.
I don't know. I just think it's a story to tell yourself.
Not going to give in.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know what? Like, I hear you. I'm not going to sit here and be a lunatic and fight you back. But the simple fact is if she's not trained up, maybe she shouldn't be on the project. Maybe she should be shadowing it. Maybe she shouldn't be leading it. Maybe she shouldn't have that much responsibility because, like when you go
Yeah,
into
right.
put it this way, here's the example. Think about 5-star restaurants you've been in, Laura, right? High-end restaurants. If you get a waiter that isn't trained up, I'm not talking about Fridays. I'm talking about nice restaurants.
Yes.
If you get a waiter that's not trained up, do you pay less? Okay, you don't. But here's the actual question. Do you get a waiter that's not trained up in a 5-star? No,
But
ma'am,
a
you don't.
5-star restaurant has a huge staff. I have a small business.
Oh,
I hired this designer.
I cursed on air, Laura. I almost cursed on air.
Okay, we're going to abandon this. We're never going to.
I really do. Because this was my compromise. I was like, all right, well, we'll take like a 10% cut threshold on some projects. And then behind the scenes, though, I'm taking a look at the profit margins, making sure that we're staying on top of profit. I'm also taking a look at
profitable
deposits.
Yes. I know you are.
And adding a little bit. I think it is really important. I know that some designers hate hearing this, but you should pad your work because something is going to come up. Like scopes may creep, whatever may happen, or you have to troubleshoot something. Like it's good to at least, because the thing is, we're not paying the designer any less, so it's still going to cost us the same amount of money.
I mean, the thing is, you've been a consumer. You don't want to be nickel and dimed. You don't.
No.
So I would rather, listen, you're not talking about at your level projects where it's like $3,000 design fee and $10,000 in furniture, right? Like, so if you give me a design fee of $70,000 or $85,000, am I running for the hills? Like, it's in the realm. And if you estimate, hourly, once you get past design fee at, another 20,000 or 25,000, am I running for the hills? And if you truly, literally have not used those hours and you cut me a check at the end of it in 6 months, am I going to be like, don't want the money back, Laura?
No.
But if you in turn are like, we told them 50 hours and we actually went 55. But you know what? It's different than, it's probably going to be 50, but we'll tell them 40. And then when it's 55, you're really in the hole.
No, I get you. And yes, you're right. For furnishings, for design time, we're hourly. We're purely hourly.
Okay.
And we bill for every hour except for this threshold where we're like, oh, we probably shouldn't bill them for that. We're going to cut it. And we do. We do every single month. I hear you. I hear all.
And Melissa's shaking her head just for those who are only listening.
I've relinquished the battle on this one.
But for furnishings, we do that for furnishings. We say, hey, it's going to be this. And if we end up with a surplus at the end, which sometimes we do, we cut a check back. And they are always happy to get a check back.
I've told the story 1,000 times on my podcast. One time, Vin and I built a house. Back in 99, we built a house. It wasn't custom. It was semi-custom, right? And there was an allowance for the kitchen, an allowance for the electrical, an allowance for blah, 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 right? And there was this one moment after I did the walkthrough with the electrician and I decided which hi-hats and blah, blah, blah. And now I get the bill. And it's like, and I was like, wait a second, why am I getting a bill? And they're like, well, you picked 20 hi-hats. The house comes with 5. I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. Who has a house with 5 hi-hats, right? So I swallow it. I decide, all right, we went all 20. You don't exactly put a hi-hat in after the fact. Fine. But then 2 months later, I get a change order. Comes across my desk. This is in the time of fax machines. And I get a change order across my desk. And it says, no lie, it says $43 electrical light combo kit. It's Master WC.
Okay.
And I'm like, what the heck is that? I've already signed the change order for the 90,000 extra hi-hats and the pendants and the kitchen and all the things. And I call her up. Name was Joanne. Never forget. Joanne, what's this $43.52 or whatever? And she's like, oh yeah, because in your bathroom, there's no window in the WC. And so by code, we have to have a combination fan lighting in the ceiling. And I'm like, okay. And so she said, and the electrician charges us, get this, it's $1 million home I'm buying, but the electrician charges the builder $43, okay, to install this. And here was my thing. I said to her, Joanne, I'm not paying this. She's like, what are you talking about? You have to pay it. We can't get the CO without it. I'm like, right. You can't get the CO without it.
Yeah.
You built this house. You didn't put a window in the WC. I didn't design this house. I didn't say take a window out. If you don't know that you're eventually going to have to give this electrician $43, you can kiss my ASS, right? And so she's just like, well, LuAnn, we're not going to get the CO. I'm like, that sounds like a you problem, Joanna. That sounds like a you problem, Joanne, right?
Joanne.
And the thing was, it was like, my thing is I finally said, because it came down to the closing day, and she's like, okay, everything's fine. I just need you to write me this check for the $43 plus the balance of whatever. And I said to her, I told you 6 months ago, I'm not writing this check. She's like, LuAnn, you're going to have to talk to Jay. He's the owner, right? I'm like, I could talk to God. I don't care. I'm not writing it, right? So next thing I know, he calls me up and he says, hey, LuAnn, how you doing? I'm like, hey, Jay, how you doing? And he says, I'm reading a note here. And it says, LuAnn says that J XYZ last name can kiss my ASS. I'm not paying that $43. And I'm like, is that dated from July of last summer? He's like, yeah, Bubba, that's my message. That was my note to you. And he's like, you got to pay it. I'm like, no, dude, I don't have to take ownership of this house. I'm not doing it. This is ridiculous. It's $1 million home. Figure your stuff out.
That is a pretty strong statement.
No. And my thing is the point is, what I said to him is, Jay, you know what? You could have billed me $5,000 more for miscellaneous things that came up throughout this process instead of sending me $40 invoices.
Yes.
It's insulting. Yeah. And so I'm telling you, as a consumer, I would much rather you tell me that you need 50 hours and the 3 times you actually only worked 40, you write the refund, than tell a consumer 40 hours, work 50 and 55, resent the consumer, resent your team, resent you're exhausted, and not get your value because you didn't say, this is a luxury service and the price tag is already in the 6 figures. What's another 5 figures? Come on.
No, it's true. I hear you. And then you get paid for your actual work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about your podcast really quick because it's amazing. And you've interviewed hundreds of the designers at this point. Like, is that fair?
I think you've had 1,100 episodes.
1,100 and then another almost 400 on the other podcast.
So I want to know, out of all of these designers that you've talked to,
don't ask me my favorite because I'm going to not.
No, I'm going to say who surprised you the most, and you don't even need to say who really. But what surprises you when you're talking to designers? Does anything surprise you anymore?
Not anybody specific comes to mind, but 2 things do surprise me. Is when somebody who is technically not seasoned, quote unquote, and is sharp as heck, and it's just like, whoa, that's only 1 or 2 or 3 years in business and they got stuff locked down and that person is going to go places. Yeah. And then the other side of it, when somebody is seasoned and I can see from their bio and their resume that they are, who they are. And then I start asking some softball questions and they don't know the answers. And I'm like, shoot, you don't really run a profitable business, do you? Like, let's stick to something you do good. So, and this is the premise of my show, by the way. I don't say, I've never said that every single guest I've had on the show is in ownership of their profitability. What we do is we find something that you do well. I've talked to people that I know darn well their business is, a hot mess. And they're not paying themselves. But you know what? Maybe they're really killing it on Instagram. Maybe they can't convert it and maybe they can't make sales and they can't make money, but they went from 5,000 to 50,000 followers in a hot minute and we could all learn something from that. Like, that's a valid thing, because if I'm the designer out there that has my stuff lined up and I was just missing the little flip of the switch on Instagram, now boom, you just made my good business better. So it does surprise me when it disappoints me, quite frankly, when I interview quote unquote seasoned designers and I'm just like, okay, let's go here. Let's talk about, do you do this really good? And we always find something that it would be no different if somebody interviewed me in my first 5 years in business. If you asked me one question about, operations and all that, I've been like, but you said, hey,
I'm
how
really
do you sell
good at
window
sales.
treatments and how do you keep that thing going? I've been like, I'm your girl,
I can sell the heck out of a shade.
Yeah. And so we all have something that we do good. We do.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the thing that you are just like, I don't care if I'm a minute in business or 50 years in business. I do this good and I'm willing to teach you how to do it good. Right. But it disappoints me and surprises me if you're seasoned and I'm like, oh, you're not really.
Can you
making
predict if someone's going to be successful? Like someone that you interviewed, and I don't know if you have examples of this, but you've interviewed them years ago and you're like, that person has it. And then fast forward, whatever, 5-10
Yes.
years, and you're like, I
Yeah.
was right.
Yeah. There are times when I just hang up. I'm like, oh, that kid's got it. That kid's got it. That kid's got it. That kid understands it. And maybe they're still trying to get to it. And I say kid because everybody's a darn kid to me. You could be 50 years old in your first design business coming from a different career or whatever. But there's a recognition of, the 5 pillars of a successful business. Like we teach them at LuAnn University. It's sales, marketing, leadership, operations, and finance. And you don't have to know it all, but you have to know that they all matter. You can't be like, oh, I don't know about my finances. I'm not worried about that. I'll figure that out next year. Oh, okay. And you
may not be able to implement it all at once, but you need to know about it and you need to be
that's what it is. When you see that in somebody, when I get that feeling, it's like they don't necessarily know it all, but they know that they need to know some of all of it and that they're striving for a certain level of mastery. Now, I'm never going to be a master at finance. I'm good at it. I know what I'm doing, but I'm never going to be as good as Michelle Williams or Vinny. It's like never going to happen, but I don't need to be. I need to know enough to know how to look for the different revenue streams of my business to monitor them. And when the question is above my pay grade, I got people I go to. I call Michelle. I call Vinny. I call my CPA. I'm like, how do I do that?
Help me. I need help. Waving the white flag. I need help.
Yeah.
Melissa, any wrap-up questions before I ask just a couple more?
Honestly, I feel like there were a dozen other questions that we probably could have asked. And then we went down this, I don't want to say rabbit hole because we learned so many different things. I guess really that's it. I since you are in the business of advice, what's the one piece of advice that you would give for designers who are looking to scale and they want to do it successfully? And maybe it's just them right now. What should they be thinking about?
Literally commit to being the holder of the CEO position, and not just with the title. Right? It's like the CEO really does have a certain level of competency around sales, marketing, finance, operation, and leadership, team management, right? And again, just sit with yourself, figure out what you're really good at. And then face the things you're not good at and be willing to hire for those or get training for those and to craft your mission, vision, values, and your strategy around what you want your business and your life to be like. You can work. I always say to designers, you know what? I could probably network you with my connections, $100,000 job by the end of the week if you wanted to work for somebody else. Like I probably could, right? I would call people like you. I would call Kate O'Hara. I'd call all the people and I'd be like, hey, you need it, right? So if you're going to not be a shining interior designer on someone else's team and you're going to have your own firm, then know that it's the 80% that makes a difference. It's not the 20% of design. And if what you really want to do is get up in 9 hours a day, do the 20%. Go do it for someone else and make yourself 150K. And there's no shame in it because firms like yours, they need good designers.
Yeah.
But deciding that, my passion is design and I want to have my own business, but I'm not creating. My husband has this seminar, this workshop that he does is the road to wealth. Owning a business is the road to wealth if you do it right. It's not a job with 16,000 other things on your head when you go to sleep at night, right? And there's no shame in either. But when you say to me, what do I want design professionals to know when they're thinking about scaling is understand that it's a challenge. It is, to figure out. I remember the conversation you and I had a few years ago, Laura. I was like, well, how does it work? Like, are you on every client intake call? Do you then decide which team member gets it? Like, that is a challenge. But as in scaling, that's not the challenge that's going to keep you up at night. The challenge is, do you know how to, like Melissa's saying, convey to the extended team that this is a business, not a charity?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has markers that indicate its health. And if we're not hitting those markers, we're, like I always say in my live presentations, we're just money launderers. We're just bringing all the money in, taking hundreds of thousands of dollars into
Buying
the
some
checkbook.
furniture.
Yeah. And at the end of the year, all the money goes back and we're like, the tax return says that I made $250,000, but there's $20,000 in the account. Well, how does that make sense? I don't even understand. Where is that other 230? So
I like what you said about you can go and make a really nice salary with your passion for design working for someone else.
Yep.
A design business owner is here to build wealth. And you can do that being an entrepreneur if you do it with those things in mind and you're doing it to make a profit, not being a money launderer, not doing this as a hobby, but you're doing it to make a profit. So you're keeping an eye on the business as a CEO. And we really believe that too. I mean, it's true.
I know you do.
I think an interior design business can afford you profit, long-term wealth, you're building wealth, and freedom to do what you want. So you can, over time, get more and more freedom as a business owner.
Yeah. And I'm going to add something, because every once in a while at a live event, I'll get somebody that'll come up to me afterwards and they'll say, I heard everything you said about building wealth and, yada, yada. But like, I love my clients and I really, really want them to have beautiful homes. And, like, I'm not so much about, like, you seem a little bit of much about the money, right? And I'm just like, okay, fair enough. But when you went out and serviced that client and you went out and found that tile and you sat in your studio, were you with your kids?
Yeah.
Were you with your partner? Were you at your yoga class? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not saying make money at all costs. I'm not saying take advantage of anybody.
Not unethically. Yeah.
Right. I'm saying if you decide to trade your time in service to another consumer, then unless you're getting paid for it, you just ripped your own family off. You just took money out of your own family's house and you said, this thing over here matters more than us. Because I could have stayed home and read your books or took you to your swim practice or just, sat in the front yard and had like a lemonade stand with you. But instead,
I could have stayed home and like read a book and painted my nails, whatever.
Yeah. Or I could have painted my nails or I could have got a massage. But instead, I went in service of my client, right? Yes. So your client is a grown adult. Your client has decided that your services are worth the exchange of commerce to get them. So come to that equation as prepared as your consumer is.
Oh my gosh, we could talk about this all day. I say the same thing. I'm like, if someone's like, well, I made a mistake and I did something wrong, but I have the furniture piece. I feel like I should install it, but comp them. I'm like, that furniture piece is not going into your home. It is going into your client's home. You deserve to be paid for that. I don't care if you forgot to charge 10% or whatever it is.
Right.
Do that now. You should get paid for that piece of furniture. So I'm with you. We can go on all day about this. I mean, I kind of want to, but we've taken your time and thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, LuAnn.
This was fun. Thank you. It was nice meeting you, Melissa.
And you can, if you're listening, you can also tune in to LuAnn's podcast, A Well-Designed Business. Once a week? Is it weekly? Is it twice
a week? Tuesday, Friday.
Wow, twice a week. I mean, something to aspire to, Melissa.
Don't even bother. Literally. Okay. I'm on a treadmill that you don't want to get on, girl.
You can also follow LuAnn on Instagram at LuAnn Nigara.
Yeah. And at the website, LuAnnNigara.com, we have Lu University, LuAnn University, where we teach interior designers the business end. That semester will be cart opening end of August, middle of August of 2025. And so, all of that.
So get into her atmosphere. Go listen. It's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. We really love having you here.
It was great. It was great fun. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out our next podcast, coming live next week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, you can find us and more wonderful stories like these on designdash.com. And make sure to follow us at Design Dasher on Instagram and TikTok. Till next time.